I'm trying to say, maybe you understand, is a disbeliever, for example, who disbelieves in Christianity and says, I, I, okay, in this moment of time in my life, I'm not convinced yet of Christianity. Okay, cool. But there's a other disbeliever
That's a
who's
denial
trying
of
to start.
Christianity. Do you understand that
Yeah,
that's a listen to me.
yeah,
Is
yeah, yeah,
Christianity a worldview?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good. If you don't believe it, then you deny it.
100%. Yes, 100%. And yeah. But what I'm trying to say is if a disbeliever comes to you and says to you, Christianity is a lie. So he openly challenges God because he's openly saying that Christianity is a lie. Instead of saying, I hope I get the point across. When he openly says it's a lie, that means he's openly going against God. He's challenging God because now he's calling it a lie instead of, oh, I don't know, let me look
All
into
you're focusing
Christianity.
on is what they merely claim. Um, are any of Allah's attributes lacking?
Like, no, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Okay, okay. All of his qualities, his attributes, he possesses them to their fullest. So,
Perfection.
okay, good. So Allah is a personal being as opposed to an impersonal being. And to be maximally personal would be include the actualizing of being relational to other persons. Okay,
No, because he's self-sufficient.
no, you're not understanding. Okay, being self-contained has nothing to do with this. That what you just said is a non sequitur. Doesn't follow. Listen carefully. Okay, self-sufficient means he's self-existent. Okay, listen carefully. You see, you are going to fight this tooth and nail because you don't want Islam to be falsified. You cannot bring yourself to possibly believe that your ancestry and all of the millions of Muslims on the world and ever since Muhammad could have been deceived. That's your one of your biggest roadblocks, okay? But I'm going to show you how naive and uninformed Muhammad was, okay? Muhammad was constantly making states in the Quran about how great Allah was, right?
Yeah, is the
Okay,
perfect.
now, okay, Allah is a being that is personal. Now, if somebody is locked in absolute solitary confinement, okay, they're still a person, right?
Okay, he chose to be personal.
Okay, okay,
Maybe
listen
he
to
makes it
me,
clear for you.
Benny. Focus, Benny. Focus on what I'm saying to you. In the United States, the Supreme Court has ruled that absolute solitary confinement is to be considered cruel and unusual punishment. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, for human beings, yeah.
Okay. So to be a personal being includes within the aspect of being personal is being relational, to relate to other persons. If we remove that aspect, completely eliminate it from a person, okay, that is a bad situation. Okay. They are not adequate. They are incomplete. Right. But
Human
you
being
you
is
want
dependent, yeah.
listen to me. To be personal, if God is God maximally personal, or is he not maximally personal?
Similarly.
I didn't hear you.
I'm thinking about it. What do you mean by maximally personal? Do you mean he's
Okay,
gonna
maximal meaning that one has a property, okay, that is to its fullest, where it is better to have than not to have. Is it better for a person to be relational than not relational at all?
yeah, it's
We're
better
talking
to be
about we're
rational,
talking about great making properties. Is it better to be intelligent than non-intelligent?
intelligent, of course.
Right, okay. Is it better to be devoid of emotions or to have some emotions? Okay. This is called perfect being theology. Anselm said God was the greatest conceivable being. He has perfection in all of his character qualities and attributes, which means whatever his attributes are, none of the attributes are deficient. Do you know what the English word deficient means is?
Lacking.
Yeah, it doesn't mean an absence of all attributes. So if you had a deficient automobile, it's missing certain things. Or if you had a deficient meal, it doesn't mean there's not food. It means it's not complete. It is not to its fullest. That's what we call a defect. It doesn't mean that something doesn't exist. It means means it doesn't possess the properties and attributes to their fullest. Okay? Now, Muhammad was uneducated. Muhammad was illiterate. He despised polytheism. Muhammad thought the Christians were guilty of polytheism. But the Christians never taught polytheism. They taught that there is only one God. Okay? And that God has within his single beingness three co-equal persons. Okay? That they are co-relational in eternity. They relate to each other. They love each other from all of eternity. Okay? One being, three persons. Okay? Not three gods, one God subsisting of three persons. Okay? Now, whether or not you accept that as true, there are theologians who recognize, who don't even believe in the Trinity, that this is monotheism. It's not polytheism. Okay? Because the God of the Bible is of one essence. When you read through the New Testament, it's clear that God is one being, subsisting of three persons in one essence, in one being. You cannot deny what I said that Christianity represents. You might deny the actuality of God being one being and three persons. Okay? So, have I accurately reflected to you what the Bible teaches?
What the Bible teaches. To
Have
me,
I
no.
accurately have I accurately represented what the Bible teaches about God? The
You
answer is yeah.
represented you
Have I
represented your
accurate
belief.
have I accurately represent what the New Testament teaches?
Yeah, the New Testament, yeah, because the Old Testament, the Jews
Good.
doesn't
Now,
don't agree.
the New Testament is what the Christians taught in the first century and onwards. Okay? Now, Muhammad did not believe that the Christians believed in one God subsisting of three persons. He believed that there were three separate gods, that were three separate beings: Allah, Jesus, and Mary. Now, you want to deny this and say it was the Holy Spirit. But in Surah 4 and 5, the Holy Spirit is not mentioned. So why isn't the third God mentioned? Why does he go to the trouble to mention the second God, Jesus, but not the third God. Why did Muhammad not mention the third person in the several passages that condemn the Trinity? Why do you think that was, Benny? Why is the third person in the Christian doctrine of the Trinity missing in action in these two texts in Surah 4 and 5?
Because it left it open to fit the shoes.
Benny, I don't want you to give me an ad hoc explanation. Do you know what ad hoc is?
Yeah, I know what I had.
Yeah, okay. When he says, say not three, okay, Allah is not the third of three. We get that from Surah 4 and Surah 5. Say not three. Allah is not the third of three. Now, did Muhammad, Allah through Muhammad, go to the trouble to, did he go to the trouble to tell us that the Christians were falsely including Allah in the three?
Yeah.
Did he go to the trouble to let us know that Jesus was included as one of the three?
You can infer it from the text, yeah?
Okay. Why is the third person missing? I scratch my head and say, wait a minute. It says Allah is not the third of three. Say not three. Okay, so we have Allah is one, Jesus is the second one. Where's the third one? Why is that missing, Benny? If he went to the trouble to tell us, hey, Allah is not a part of a three, but he mentions Allah is included from his point of view, Allah is included in one of the three. And then he tells us, and Jesus too. But if it says say not three, there's no mention of a third God. Why is that missing, Benny?
Well, he does mention a third person.
That's right. But you see, if Benny acknowledges what is transparently obvious that Muhammad thought, because of his own lack of ability to read and being uneducated, he thought that Mary was the third person. And we can clearly see it from the text. But Benny cannot allow that error to be there because it will falsify Islam. If Mary is the third person of the three, Benny, would that falsify Islam?
Then we have to know all the beliefs of all Christians.
Benny, I asked you a question. If it is the case that Muhammad, through Allah, said that Mary was one of the three alongside Allah, Jesus, and Mary is a part of the three in the Christian false conceptualization of gods, okay? Would this falsify Islam?
Yes, if...
Stop! That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. Now, so you have a motive to deny the obvious. Remember when it says, and Jesus was just a prophet, and prophets before him passed away, and his mother was just a woman of the truth. And you know what it says next, Benny? And it says, and they both used to eat food. Why is Muhammad, through Allah, telling us that Jesus ate food? Why?
Because God is self-sufficient and independent.
Right. But guess what? He said it of Mary too.
Yes.
This is further contextual evidence that Muhammad had Mary in mind as the third person. But you can't allow that. because then Islam will be falsified. You don't want to believe all of these Muslims for centuries and alive today are following a false teacher, Muhammad, one who was illiterate, one who was uneducated. But here's your problem. When you deny the obvious from these texts, okay? Watch, I'll go one step further. In Surah 5, I think it's in verse 72, okay? No, 116, excuse me. It says, and when Allah will say to Jesus, did you say to the people, meaning his followers, did you say to the people to take you and your mother as gods? In that verse, in Surah 5, 116, now listen carefully to the question. Was it on Allah's and Muhammad's mind that the Christians were taking Mary as a god, the mother of Jesus?
Yes, some Christians, yeah.
No. You see, you're not focusing. Listen to me carefully. Was it? He says, did you say to the people? It means your followers. Was it on Muhammad and Allah's mind that the Christians were taking Mary as a god?
Yes, from Islamic perspective.
Good. Then that means when Mary is mentioned in Surah 4 and Surah 5 in verse 72 to 75, that they understood that Mary was being taken as a god.
Yes, they were taken as a
good. Then, and guess what? And the third person's not mentioned, but Mary is. So there you have the three gods: Allah, Jesus, and Mary. Benny.
What about the priests and the scholars?
No, listen to me, Benny. This is a nuclear bomb that exposes Muhammad. You just admitted it was on Muhammad's mind. He believed the Christians were taking Mary as a god. So if he believed that, but Mary is not referred to as one of the three gods, then there are four gods. But it says, say not three. Okay, he includes Allah, he mentions Jesus, but then you say the third God is missing in action, but then the fourth God, Mary, is mentioned. This is a colossal historical blunder of epic proportions. But you see, you cannot allow what is plain to see by anyone, okay, who wants to avoid the truth, is that Muhammad made a historical blunder. And you see, when you go to an ad hoc maneuver and say, oh, Mary was not included as a god there, but then in Surah 5, 116, she's referenced to being taken as a god by the Christians. But then you say, oh, she's not a god there, but Surah 5, 116 says she is taken as a god. So if you say she's a god there, then she's a god in the preceding verses as well. Then it would be four gods. So when you try to escape that Mary is included as the third God and saying, oh, no, the third God isn't mentioned, is missing in action. Isn't that amazing that Allah left out who the third God was? He went all the trouble to tell people, say not three. He mentions Allah is not one of the third of three, and Jesus is not a third of a three, but he leaves out the third person. How come he left out the third person, Benny?
How come Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he was...
How come Allah left out the third person? How'd that happen?
How come Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he was...
I can't, you're too far away from your microphone. How come Allah, listen, why did Allah leave out the third person? How can he say not three? What do you mean three? I only see two gods there, Allah and Jesus. Who's the third one?
Because
in the Quran, where's the third God? Is the third God mentioned in Surah 4 and 5? Well, from your perspective, no. And the reason why you will say no, because you cannot allow it to be Mary, can you? But you just admitted that Allah and Muhammad considered that the Christians were taking Mary as a god. Surah 5:116. And you see, if you weren't motivated to protect Islam at all costs, you would see the light. But because you want to preserve Islam at all costs, you engage in cognitive dissonance. Because I just showed you, when you say Mary was not a god, but then in Surah 5:116, you acknowledge that the Christians were taking her as a god. You contradict your position that she's not the third god. You say, oh, no, she's not the third god. Good. Then why did he only mention Allah and Jesus? Where's the third god? What third god? Why did Muhammad and Allah go to the trouble to mention Allah and Jesus? Why did he even mention Jesus at all? Why did he mention the third one at all? If Christians are worshiping three gods, we got God 1, God 2, God 3, and then he mentions God 1 and God 2, and wait a minute, oops, where's God 3?
Okay, so follow me, right?
Hold on a second. Did Allah and Muhammad, did they have momentary dementia like Joe Biden, and they forgot who the third person was?
Okay, so the funny thing is,
I asked you a question. Did Allah and Muhammad have dementia and completely blank out that there was a third person?
No, but...
Oh, so he didn't. So why? Okay, when he says say not three, why isn't the third God mentioned? Where is this third God? Why did he go to the trouble to mention Jesus, but not the third God?
Because Jesus is the main figure.
You're not understanding. You don't understand. All three persons in Christianity are co-equal. They simply have different roles in the unfolding plan of salvation. You see, you know what you just did? That was an ad hoc maneuver, a pure, unadulterated, pristine ad hoc maneuver. You see, Benny, this isn't just a dispute. Your eternal destiny is at stake here because you are rejecting Jesus Christ. Islam is a fake religion. There's no plan of salvation. There's no way that Allah reconciles the conflict, the antithesis between justice and mercy. The cross of Jesus Christ and his bodily resurrection solves the antithesis between God's justice and his mercy. But there's no plan of salvation. Do you know why? It's because Muhammad was making this up. So Benny, you need, listen, Benny, I'm pleading with you. You need to abandon Islam and come to Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. Because if you don't, when you die, God is not going to have any mercy on your soul because you went, oh, but God, I tried to follow Allah, even though he wasn't you. I meant, well, it's not going to fly, Benny. You turned your back on Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. And there will not be any forgiveness of sins when you turn your back on Jesus Christ when your heart stops. I'm showing you categorically clear evidence that Muhammad was wrong. I showed you from Allah being a person, he doesn't possess that quality to its fullest. Does Allah possess the quality of personhood to its fullest, logically prior to creation? The answer is no, because there's no actualizing of the relationalness from one person to another. There's no relationality. Just like when somebody is in absolute solitary confinement, there's no relationality going on there. The person in solitary confinement is in a deficient state. Saying that Allah is adequate in himself. That just means that he's non-derivative. He doesn't depend upon anything for his existence. That's just aseity. But it doesn't address the issue that he is missing the actualizing of relationness in order to be maximally personal. If you and I are maximally personal, that will include that we are relational. We actualize relationality with other persons. That's why in the Old Testament, God said, it is not good that man should be alone. And after God made Eve, at the last verse of Genesis 1, he says, and God declared everything was good, meaning it was not good for Adam not to actualize relationness. If Allah is the essence of goodness to its fullest, how can Allah be the essence of goodness when he cannot actualize relationality? Muhammad's monotheism was just an ignorant conjecture on his part because he was uneducated and illiterate. Another thing is this: Allah is a deceiver. He's the greatest of all deceivers. It says so in the Arabic. This is so troubling to Muslims. Do you speak Arabic, Benny?
Yes.
Yeah, this is so troubling to Muslims that they bastardize the English translation to hide the fact that it means to scheme, to deceive. Benny, what does the Arabic word makr mean?
Well, it has different meanings. The Arabic
No.
language.
No. I've looked it up in lexicons. It means to scheme, to deceive. It doesn't mean simply to plan. Benny, who made it to look like Jesus died on the cross? Who did that, Benny? Who did that?
Who did
Did
that?
Allah do that? Did Allah do that?
No, because the event.
Benny, if
were
Allah
different.
didn't do that, so in other words, Allah did not supernaturally intervene to make it look like Jesus died on the cross. Who did the body double?
No, what he did is save.
Was it the Jewish Supreme Court that did the body double for Jesus? Was it the Romans? Was it Jesus' disciples who switched a body double and had somebody else die on the cross?
No, but that's one of the.
So wait a minute. So wait, no,
exactly what happened.
no. When it says it was made to look like Jesus died on the cross, you know, and every other Muslim knows what that means.
It means that there was a rumor spreading that he died on the
No,
cross.
Benny. Wow, this is one of the most pathetic ad hoc excuses I have ever heard in my entire Christian life. There was a rumor that he died on the cross. Benny, Jesus' mother and some of his brothers and sisters were there in Jerusalem. The disciples certainly knew what Jesus looked like. Okay? There was a rumor that he died of the cross. Benny, that is pathetic. Listen, I've made myself clear. When you die and your heart stops, if you turn your back on Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, there will be no hope of salvation for you. You will just face eternal damnation. I'll be right back. I got to check a message.
Oh man, tired.
Hello?
Yes?
Why is no one socializing?
Because I just got done with my analysis of why Islam is false. Did you just get here?
Yeah. Wait, let me talk to One Way. So, One Way made the claim that nothing exists or God exists. How do you justify that? It doesn't even make sense. Let's just do this in the voice chat.
Yeah, it's just a modus ponens argument. It's A or B, or I'm sorry, A or not A, right?
Yes.
Not A, therefore A.
No. Okay, so yeah, I agree with that, but okay, hold on. Let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. So you said, hold on. Let me scroll up and see this argument. Hold on. Yeah, I know this is wrong. I just don't have a very good explanation, but I already know it's wrong.
Yeah, if it's a true dichotomy.
Which it's not.
Yeah, okay, so A or not A is not a true dichotomy?
You said nothing or God. That's not a true dichotomy.
Yeah, God would be something, right?
Yeah, but why would you choose that?
Right. So it's A or not A. No, actually, initially I picked a leprechaun.
It's not a true dichotomy. Nothing.
And then I picked albedo, and then I plugged in God.
Nothing or God. That's not a true dichotomy. It's either nothing or something, or God or not God. Not nothing or God. That's not a true dichotomy. Yeah, that explains it. That explains it. That's the problem.
No, that doesn't explain it. Do you know what a disjunctive syllogism is?
No.
Okay, look up modus tollens, and you know how to cache that on a truth table, and you'll understand it.
Okay, so that's not a spoon. Is he here? That's not a true dichotomy. Nothing or God. That's not a true dichotomy.
Okay, so God is a nothing?
Well, first of all, he didn't say it was a dichotomy. He said it's a disjunction. Do you know what a disjunction is?
No.
Okay, so you just shot yourself in the foot. Okay.
I don't know that much about it. What is it?
Oh, well, then you shouldn't be objecting. Then you should be a little bit more. You should be a little bit more humble when you're disagreeing. Okay.
He's trying to say it's a dichotomy.
And an exclusive disjunction is A or B.
So a dichotomy.
Okay. No. A dichotomy would be A or not A.
But wouldn't B not A?
Not necessarily. Okay.
True.
That's why. Listen. That's why they call it A or B. It's a disjunction. It's an exclusive disjunction.
Okay.
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 I do agree with you that B could be categorized as not A. Okay. And they're very similar. Okay. But there could be a C.
You're right. So it's not a dichotomy. But I believe that in this argument, it's basically it's trying to be or its phrase is a dichotomy. Nothing or God. That's a dichotomy or an attempt at one, right? You know what? Just forget it.
Well, tell me, you're listed as an atheist and agnostic. Why are you an atheist?
I just don't believe in God.
Okay, God does not exist because...
Well, I never said that.
Okay, listen carefully. Okay. God is defined as the creator, the source of all possibility. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you do not believe that God is the necessary precondition of all facts that are not God, then that entails that you believe in the independence of facts from God.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. If you believe in the independence of facts of God, then God cannot logically coexist if that proposition is true. If P, therefore Q. P, then Q. If you believe in the independence of even one fact, then you are logically committed to the denial of God's existence. Why? It's because the fact that because of how God is defined. Okay. If you don't positively believe that the apple depends upon the road, okay, it wouldn't entail the denial of the road because they could logically coexist. But this is not the same thing with God. God is defined as the ground of all being, without which nothing would exist. So when you believe in the independence of facts, you're logically committed to the denial of God. Okay? The reason why you say you don't believe in God, but that you don't want it to mean I believe there's no God, is because you know you can't defend what you actually believe. So you, just like every other internet atheist out there, is trying to play semantic gymnastics by saying, oh, I don't believe in God, but I don't believe there's not a God. Well, the answer is, if you don't have a positive belief in God, meaning that God is the necessary precondition of all facts that are not God, then it necessarily follows that you deny the existence of God, whether you realize it or not, or whether you admit it or not. You are logically committed to the falsity of God. So is it clear to you or not that you and other atheists want to say atheism is, I don't believe in God, but I don't believe that God does not exist? Is it a far stretch of the imagination that you're formulating it that way so as to insulate yourself from having to defend the position that God does not exist?
Well, yes, because I don't make that claim. So yeah,
It doesn't matter that you don't explicitly make that claim, but what you do claim necessarily commits you to the denial of God. Do you believe in the independence of facts from God?
I believe that facts correspond with reality, and
Okay, that's not an answer. Okay,
Wait.
listen. That was a dishonest response.
Okay.
Do you positively believe that facts necessitate deriving and referencing God as the necessary precondition of all things that are not God?
Wait, say that again?
Do you believe that God is the necessary precondition of all facts that are not God?
No.
Good. Then you believe that facts exist independently of God.
They might not. I don't know.
No. Listen to me.
Yeah.
You do not believe they necessitate referencing God. If they don't necessitate referencing God, then they are independent of God.
Maybe not. I don't know.
No. Listen to me. You see, again, you are being deceitful because you don't want to admit what your real position is. This is what you and all atheists do. Listen carefully. Do you positively believe it's necessary to reference the necessity of God?
No.
Good. Then you believe in the independence of facts.
I'm not really convinced that
You don't believe God is necessary. If you don't believe that God is necessary, then God cannot logically coexist because God is defined as being necessary. It is not necessary to reference the necessity of God. That's your position. You just agreed to that.
So God is not
I
either
do not
logical
believe.
or necessary, is what you're saying.
Okay.
Who said that?
Okay, that's page B. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The question
Yeah,
is,
you know.
do you believe it is necessary to reference God as the necessary precondition of all facts? Do you believe
Absolutely
that,
not.
Paige? Good. Then you are logically committed to the denial of the existence of God.
Okay.
Now, the reason why you or any other atheist will drag your feet in the heels in the dirt is because you don't want to defend either what you really believe or what necessarily entails from what you
No,
believe.
that's not it at all, Darth. I would love to absolutely
Do
defend
you
what I
know?
absolutely believe.
Do
What
you
you're trying to
know?
do is put
Do you
words in
know
my
that
mouth,
there have been
and
papers written on
you
this?
won't let me speak
I
either.
know that, but I'm trying to point out to you there have
Uh-huh.
been research papers that have actually been written on this, pointing out
Wow.
that the atheists are trying to reformulate atheism from how it has been classically understood, so as to insulate themselves from having to defend what they really believe.
Oh my God! Do you know that I wrote a research paper in 6th grade
That's
about?
not what
Yeah.
I'm
No.
referring to.
Right, but you're talking about because someone
Have
wrote
I
a
ever
research paper.
have I ever
Mhm.
spoken to you before on Discord?
Yes, you have
Okay, were
absolutely.
you intoxicated the last time I talked with you?
Darth, just stop.
Were
Calm
you?
down and
Were
speak
you?
with
I
me.
asked you a question. Were you intoxicated the last time we talked?
I recognize that we talked the last time and you pretended
Were
that.
you
All right,
intoxicated the last
this
time
is
we
what
talked?
happened, Darth. You asked me if I had been drinking, and I said yes. And you said, therefore, there you go. And everyone else was like, what the fuck are you doing,
Yeah,
Darth?
after
Yeah.
you were removed,
Mm-hmm.
everyone
I
was
was
laughing
there. Everyone else was not
because it was
No, they weren't
apparent that
laughing. They were
you
saying
were
she's
no, it
not
was
slurring
apparent.
her words. She
No,
wasn't doing
you're not
anything
understanding.
improper.
It was
I have
clear to
I have a
everybody.
recording of it, Darth.
Fine. Why don't we play it back? It's
Okay,
clear to
fine.
everybody. It's
But
clear to
why are we
everybody
going
that
back
you.
there?
Why do you keep on over talking me?
Well, because
Now,
you don't know how to have a conversation.
oh, I don't.
No, you don't.
Shall we play back the last recording with you? How belligerent you were?
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you were drunk.
No, I wasn't drunk. You asked me
What?
why I had been
Why do?
drinking.
Okay. Hey, Parakeet. How often do I seriously ask somebody, "Have you been drinking tonight?"
not that often.
Who
Okay,
the fuck
Paige.
is
Why?
Parakeet?
Why do you think? Why do you think I asked you on that time if you had been drinking? Why would I do that?
Well, I'll tell you this, Darth. It's because I used to go into Tom on boxes, and you would come in there, and we would have arguments.
Have you been
And
drinking tonight, Paige?
no, Darth. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Now, Paige, are you an
So
atheist?
that's where you got the idea.
Paige, are you an atheist?
Not necessarily. No.
Okay, Paige, do you positively believe that God is the eternal creator?
Which God?
Okay. Do you believe that there is an eternal creator that we call God? See, what you just did
No.
was, okay, Paige, listen carefully.
Uh-huh.
You atheists, and I emphasize you atheists, okay? All you simply do is you pull out the same cliches and platitudes. When you say which God, that's a bait and switch response.
It's not. I'm wondering, are
Okay.
you talking about the
Paige,
Christian God?
Paige,
Talking
listen
about the
to
Muslim
Paige,
God? What?
Paige. If I'm about to
Darth?
kick you, I'm about to server
I'm
meet you.
sure you are because you're really
Okay?
easy
I want
to
you
do
to
that.
stop. I want you to stop being rude.
How am I being rude?
Okay. I guess she has been drinking tonight, folks.
Okay. Thin
Now,
skin
Paige,
Darth Dawkins.
okay.
All
right.
Here
Yeah,
we
go back.
go.
Yeah, go back to your bottle. Go back to your bottle. How'd you like to be married to that thing?
Don't tell her to go. Don't tell her to go back to the bottle, dude. That's not good.
That was
get her away from the bottle.
That I agree with you.
I know. I'm just kidding.
That was tongue in cheek. It was sarcasm. Okay?
I get it. I know. I get it. I do.
Of course, I don't think anyone takes me seriously that I want her to go back to the bottle. I want her to take the bottle, pour it down the kitchen sink, and not drink anymore. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, so autism. Okay? Do you agree
Yes.
that there's some people because they want to take a position, but they don't want to defend their position, so they define it in a way to insulate themselves from having to defend their position, and they through cleverness of a way of describing it, they do such a thing. Well, that's exactly when atheism says that, because atheism, okay, it only means something in reference to theism. Theism is not just a focus on a psychological state of belief. Theism is the focus on a proposition that God exists. Okay? And atheists are capitalizing on the suffix of ism rather than theos versus atheos. Okay? So the bottom line is this. Either you positively believe that God is the necessary precondition of all facts that are not God, or you don't.
Yes, I lack belief. I lack a belief that God is.
No. Right. This is the cute little semantical gymnastics. Okay, lack of belief is ambiguous. So under the umbrella term lack of belief, we could have what is called classical atheism that denies the existence of God. We could have what we call agnosticism, where you're simply non-committal. Okay, you're non-committal toward God, or it could mean that you don't know what God means, as in verificationism. So, which of those three represents your lack of belief?
Hold on, contrarian's messaging me some things. I'm having to deal with this.
Okay. Well, ignore him. So, do you deny the existence of God? Do you merely withhold belief where you're non-committal, or do you just think that God doesn't mean anything?
I don't. I just don't believe in God. I don't know.
You see, that's not an answer to my question. No. You don't believe in God means you believe God does not exist, but you don't want to be. Yes, let me tell you why. Okay. It's because you believe that facts are facts without the necessity. Listen carefully to the wording. You believe facts are facts without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God. That's what you believe. I mean, facts do not, you do not believe facts necessitate referencing the necessity of God.
Because if you did, then you'd believe in God.
Well, let me tell you something. So,
do you positively believe in the necessity of referencing the necessity of God as the precondition of facts that are not God?
No.
Okay, good. So then that means that what you do believe is that facts don't necessitate God.
No.
Yes.
I don't know whether they do or not.
I didn't. Okay, notice. Okay, listen. You need to focus. Did I mention knowing? No, I didn't.
If I believe something.
Listen to me. I didn't mention knowing. You mentioned knowing because you are in an uncomfortable position here, because we're really revealing what your position entails, whether you want to admit it or not. So you're going back to your old cliche as well. I don't know. That's not the issue. Nobody's discussing what you know at this juncture. We're asking you, what do you believe? Okay?
I'd rather
you do not believe it's necessary for facts. Facts do not necessitate referencing the necessity of God. Okay? So listen carefully. Do you believe facts do not necessitate referencing the necessity of God?
No, I do not assert that.
Okay. I didn't ask you that. I said, do you believe it?
No, I don't believe that.
Okay. Then you are committed to the falsity of God.
I mean, I'm committed to the falsity of Allah, if that makes you feel better.
You're not, listen, you need to focus, all right?
Okay.
You believe it is not necessary. You do not believe facts necessitate referencing the necessity of God. We're talking about facts. Do you believe there are facts?
Yes.
Do you believe that facts necessitate referencing the necessity of God?
No.
Okay, there we go. So
Then
what
you
you
don't
just
believe
stated right
you're in a
there.
world where God is.
Okay, you then believe that facts are independent rather than dependent.
Well, I'm an agnostic atheist, so I don't
Okay,
actually.
okay. Autism is a curse. Please don't whip out atheist cliches and platitudes with me.
I'm not trying to. I didn't know they were.
That is
cliches.
it. That is an atheist cliche.
Wait, can I say something?
If you say that again, I will server mute you.
Okay.
Listen carefully.
So,
I asked you about facts. Do you believe that facts necessitate referencing the necessity of God?
no.
Yes, sir. Okay. That means then that you believe facts don't necessitate God.
I mean, not necessarily. No.
No. Autism.
That's the same
Listen,
thing, just worded
listen to
differently,
me.
dude.
It's the same proposition.
He just changed the order of the words.
Listen,
Okay?
I really don't want any disrespect.
I'm trying to explain to you that I gave you the same proposition, but in a different statement. Same proposition, different statement. You can have the same proposition expressed in two different statements. Now, you said, when I ask you about facts, do facts necessitate referencing the necessity of God? And you said no. That is the equivalent of saying facts don't necessitate God.
No, I don't know. I don't know whether.
Okay. If you say I don't know again, you're gone.
Okay, I'll just mute my mic.
I didn't ask. We're not talking about what you know. You see, again, you're pulling out another atheist cliche. We're not discussing what you claim to know. And by the way, if you tell me you don't know there's a God, that's a landmine for you as well. Because when you say I don't know there's a God, that is the equivalent of saying all the facts that I'm acquainted with do not necessitate God. So when you say I don't know God, I don't know there's a God, that is the same thing as saying facts don't necessitate God. Do you realize that? If a person says I don't know there's a God, but they know there's a world of facts out there, right? And they've decided that those facts don't necessitate referencing God. Because if they did necessitate referencing God, then they would say they know God. So to say, I don't know there's a God is to claim facts don't necessitate God. So it's a waste of time for you to say, I don't know there's a God anymore, because all you're just saying is facts don't necessitate referencing God. If a fact doesn't necessitate God, then God can't exist.
Okay, can I tell you what I believe?
Did you hear the last statement I made?
Yeah.
If there is one independent of fact from God, if a fact doesn't necessitate God, then God can't logically coexist with that fact. So to say you believe facts don't necessitate God is an implicit, indirect denial of God. Okay. You just don't want to openly admit that there's no God because you have to defend it. But you openly admitted the independence of facts because you didn't realize that that's the equivalent of saying there's no God. The reason why you are uttering these atheist cliches is because you're trying to circumvent and insulate yourself from defending what you really believe. You have dug a moat around the castle. The castle is the denial of the existence of God, but it's fatally flawed. The castle cannot be defended. So you're digging a moat around the castle, believing that the moat will not be able to be traversed or crossed. Okay?
What's the moat?
The moat is, I don't know there's a God. I lack belief. The moat is trying to represent your God denialism, okay, from realizing that it's fatally flawed, so that your God denialism can't even be defended or examined. So you dig a moat going, I don't know. So the bottom line is this: you believe facts do not necessitate God. Are we clear?
Did I tell you that?
You did.
Yeah, you did. Darth asked you if you believe they necessitate
I said,
God, and you said no.
do you believe facts necessitate referencing the necessity of God? And you said no.
Wait, listen, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up a room, and anyone who wants to have a good conversation can follow me, okay?
Yeah. you see when you corner an atheist,
I just want
with basic reason. You see, you atheists say you champion reason, right? Yeah. Don't atheists claim that they are pursuing reason, and people who believe in God are not? Yes. So are you champion? I just gave you pure reason and logic. You believe in the independence of facts. You believe facts don't necessitate God. If you believe a fact doesn't necessitate God, that logically commits you to the denial of God. But you don't want to admit to that because then you have to defend it, and you know you can't defend it.
Because in a world where God existed, all facts would necessitate referencing him.
So the reason why you do not want to admit to what you do affirm entails the denial of God is because you can't defend the denial of God. So what you want to do is you want to make a category error in saying, well, I don't believe there's gold on Mars. I don't have a belief in gold on Mars. But it's not that I believe that gold is not there. I just don't have, I'm absent of belief. That doesn't work with God. It's a category error.
But what's the difference between gold and God? It's
because like gold is not the transcendental ultimate from which all things that are not God derive and depend.
You know what? If anyone wants to have a good conversation, I'll be up a room.
And so in other words, he absolutely, when you show him what his real position is, he runs. The moat has been drained. There are planks by which we can now walk, and we realize that the castle is fatally flawed. And because he doesn't want to see the castle that's fatally flawed be imploded, easily imploded, he runs away because he doesn't want to see the beloved castle destroyed. This is what, yeah.
I guess a good conversation is one where his false beliefs are granted to him.
When you show them the necessary entailment, if P, therefore Q, P, then Q, right? As long as it doesn't impugn what they believe, they'll accept it. Okay? Look what happened with the doctor, professor, career, philosopher Stephen Law when I asked him how it is that there is no God. And all we got was a verbal carnival from this guy. Same thing with Massimo Pallucci and what's his name? The biologist. What's that guy's name? P.Z. Myers and Lawrence Krauss and Graham Oppie. This type of running away from defending what they really believe is not limited to amateur and noob atheists on the internet. This is a disease that all atheists suffer from with rare exceptions.
I'd run too.
They don't want to defend the castle because the castle cannot be defended. So they dig a moat. I don't know. So the next time an atheist says, I don't know that God exists, you say that's the equivalent of saying facts don't necessitate referencing the necessity of God. If you don't know God exists, well, why don't you know that God exists? So that means you've decided all the facts that you're looking at out there don't necessitate referencing God. Because if they did necessitate referencing God, you would say, yeah, I know God, because those facts necessitate God, and there are facts there, so then God exists. If P, therefore Q. So when somebody says, I don't know there's a God, right? That is the equivalent of denying God. But they don't realize that it's the equivalent of denying God. Because you see, when you say you don't know God, it is denying God. When you say you don't know there's gold on Mars, that is not the equivalent of denying there's gold on Mars. Why? It's because gold on Mars is not a transcendental necessity, and within the category of what is ultimate, absolute, and the source of all possibility, where God is. So saying you don't have a positive belief in gold on Mars, but you're not believing that there is no gold on Mars, well, that flies for that situation, but it doesn't fly for God. This is a category error because God is the ultimate, the creator. So if I believe that these wireless Bluetooth earphones that I'm holding in my hand don't necessitate referencing gold on Mars, that doesn't equal the denial of gold on Mars. But if I say these earpods don't necessitate referencing God, right? That's the denial of God right there because of who and what God is. But do you think they care? No, they don't. They are super sleazy and deceptive as the day is long. Why is it, out of all the professional atheists that I've encountered in the last 2 months on the AMA, not one of them wanted to stand there like a man and defend their God denialism? Why? I think it's self-explanatory.
I got banned from the ACA Discord because I said that evolution, that natural selection is a good thing because it gets rid of weak people and subhumans and trash.
Well, you would be consistent then with what you believe.
True.
They're being inconsistent with that. You see,
True.
Darwin was a full-blown racist. The Aboriginals and the people at the southern end of South America, he thought that they were on the lower end of the evolutionary chain and that they were bound to be wiped out by the white races.
What's the full name of his book?
Oh yeah, why don't you read it to us? It's
The
the origin of the species
yeah.
and the preservation of the favored races.
Yep. And who was the
Wait.
favored races?
The white race?
The
White
whites.
people.
Yeah, that's right.
Dude,
the favored race. Yeah.
He was based. I'm gonna go read his books.
Oh yeah. He actually believed that blacks and other Aboriginal types around the world, especially the people that he met down in the very tip of South America, he thought they had sub-intelligence, okay? Because, they were not clean, they were dirty, all right? They weren't refined Englishmen, Well, I'm not trying to be funny, it's true, right?
I didn't know that.
Well, look, when you look, even Abraham Lincoln, when he said he wanted to free the slaves, he made a remark about blacks where he said it wasn't like he wanted them to become congressmen or something like that. And I pointed out to a relative that Lincoln really wasn't being racist because what he was actually referring to was the lack of multiple generational education. Not that they were not equal in intelligence. But we're going off topic here. So the bottom line is autism, okay?
Hey.
If I say I don't have a belief, I don't have a positive belief that there's gold on Mars, I can agree with you that is not the same thing as believing there is no gold on Mars. That would be correct.
Okay.
But that does not work for God. Because here's why. is because God is defined as the ultimate creator and necessity and precondition of all facts that are not God. Gold on Mars is not defined in that way. It's not in that category. So when you just say, I don't have a positive belief in God, but I don't believe that God does not exist, that doesn't work for the category of God. Do you understand the mistake?
Yeah.
If you conceive, okay, and by the way, I'm glad you came back. If you conceive of God as one very wise man, the Toxic Avenger said, or thought of God as being the final boss of the universe, the grand poobah, yeah, you could lack belief in God without denying him. Because under that definition, God would not be ultimate, the transcendental necessity and precondition of all facts. He would just be the biggest, baddest being, the final boss in the universe. And you could lack belief in that. And you see, this is how unbelievers conceptualize God. Because they believe that if God exists, he would be somehow encapsulated by one or more parameters that everything is encapsulated by. But then that wouldn't be God. So we have to make it very clear to you that even though it's very uncomfortable and unpleasant, if you don't have a positive belief in God, that is the equivalent of believing that God does not exist, even though you may say, but that's not what I believe. You see, what matters is, what are the ramifications and the implications of what you do believe? Okay. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with informal fallacies.
Yeah.
Okay. How many times have people committed fallacies? I've even made I've stated things in a verbal, how shall I put this? In a verbally, I don't want to say inappropriate, a less than best representation. And technically, you could say I committed a fallacy a couple of times. But that's because people are piling on because they're not applying the principle of charity, okay? Because sometimes there are implied premises that are left out, right? But when you believe that it's not necessary to reference the necessity of God, that is the same thing as saying facts don't necessitate God. And if facts exist and they don't necessitate God, then God doesn't exist. Because the only way God can exist is if facts necessitate God.
You know what? What does the Bible say about facts?
What does the Bible say?
Yeah.
The Bible says that God is the ultimate creator. He is the Lord over all. God made everything that has been made, seen and unseen, by speaking into existence. So the Bible, although people like to, in their stupidity, in their eternal ignorance, like to dump on the Bible presents a very sophisticated worldview. And the Bible says God is the source and basis of everything that is seen and unseen. So that means that God is the necessary precondition of all facts that are not God. So when you, okay, so you remember I said earlier, if P, therefore Q, P, then Q? Okay?
Yeah.
It's called modus ponens. If P, then Q. Now, the only way that you can escape this is to say, well, Q is not entailed or implied by P. But if we can show that Q is necessitated when we invoke P, right? Then if anyone invokes P, then Q is also entailed. And you can't say, but I'm not asserting Q. Yeah, that's right. But you're asserting P. If you assert P, then you are in essence asserting Q. Do you understand? If P, then Q. If Q is a necessary entailment of P and you assert P, but you don't explicitly assert Q, but you assert P, then you are in effect indirectly asserting Q. So
You know
what?
What do you think of speaking in tongues?
I believe that it was a miraculous ability to preach the gospel in a language that they hadn't learned in the first century, and it died out in the apostolic age. And tongue speaking today is not the tongue speaking in the Bible. It's just random gibberish where people practice it to induce a psychological state of euphoria.
What
Why
do you
did that
think
come up?
of speaking in tongues?
It's retarded.
What do you
Yeah.
mean retarded? You mean it's not possible?
No, it's possible to speak gibberish. It's just retarded.
Well, here's the
Thank
problem.
you. Thank
Well,
you
here's
for
the
that.
here's the problem. Okay, in your atheistic outlook, there's no final or ultimate reference point for anything.
Reality.
Why would anything be
No,
retarded?
no. Yeah, here we go again. Everybody take carefully note here, okay? This is a mistake that atheists make all the time, okay? Reality cannot be the ultimate reference point because reality is not concrete. That's an abstraction. Reality is an abstraction of concrete, the set of all real things, okay? So if I say to you, what is the source and basis of what is, can be, and cannot be of the set of all real things, and you say reality, then all you're just simply saying is the set of all real things.
Well, I'll answer.
Let me finish, okay? If you say reality is equal to the set of all real things, then when I say to you, what is the basis of what is, can be, and cannot be of the set of all real things, and you say reality, all you're just saying is the set of all real things is the basis of the set of all real things.
Okay. Well,
So do you realize that saying reality is not an
retarded.
answer? It's not. Yeah. Now, what I'm trying to say is this: as an atheist, you have no ultimate identifiable reference point for individual facts. Saying reality does not address the question at all. Okay? That's like saying the sum total of all real things is what makes any particular what it is in a time index. Okay?
what?
Well, let me ask you this
I
question.
think this guy's too low IQ for this, Darth. You're gonna have to just
All right.
educate him from the top
The
down.
the bottom line is saying reality is a last ditch effort on the part of an atheist when they don't know what else to say. So if you were honest, you would have to admit, look, do you know who Lawrence Krauss is?
No.
Okay, Lawrence Krauss is a rabid atheist. He's a theoretical physicist. He said we can explain everything through the laws of nature. Do you agree with that?
Well, like, yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Well, I then asked Lawrence Krauss, what is it then that is ultimate, that will institute and secure what is, can be, and cannot be? You know what his answer was? He said, I don't know. He said, I don't know. And then he got hissy, and he says, why does it even matter? Well, what matters is because, excuse me. He said that he could explain everything through laws of nature. So we have a contradiction there. So when you don't know what is ultimate, dictating what is, can be, and cannot be, and saying reality doesn't cut it, that's a non-answer. You don't have a final reference point as to why anything ultimately is. Therefore, you can't say any proposition or state of affairs is retarded.
It would be retarded to say that.
It would be
Okay, you said
retarded. It would be retarded to say something is retarded if you don't have a final reference point as to what makes anything individually what it is, can be, or cannot be. What makes anything, and don't say reality or the universe because that's not an answer. What is it ultimately that dictates what is, can be, or cannot be for any state of affairs?
I don't know. I guess. Well, I do have an answer. Wait, did you say don't say the laws of the universe? You know
No,
what?
that wouldn't work, because you see, then you would have a plurality of things that are discrete and they're independent of each other. Therefore, one of these laws, whatever they may, would not dictate everything. Okay?
I don't know. Just forget it.
The bottom line here is this: only in the Christian worldview can you speak derisively of certain states of affairs, or to say certain states of affairs are off limits, even probabilistically, because there is God, who is the creator, who implements the creation, and he sustains it according to his plan. And anything that's off limits, that is retarded, as you say, or fallacious or superstition, would conflict with the mind of God and his plan of creation. But if you reject God's revealing himself in creation, which you have done because you don't want there to be a God, you want to be your own God, right? Then you can't say anything is fallacious or off limits, because if you do, then I'm just going to ask you, what is it finally and ultimately makes it that it cannot be? And saying reality, it does not answer the question. It's a non-answer.
You know what? Just forget it.
Does half the universe, however far it extends, does it prevent me from jumping to the moon?
No, but the laws of like terminal velocity
Wait,
and
wait a
like
minute. What
speed.
law? Wait a minute. What laws? In order for there to be laws, something must be absolute and immutable, meaning there are certain characteristics of it that are not subject to change. And whatever that is, it then imposes these laws in continuance. Or you're going to have to claim that the laws themselves are eternal, absolute, and immutable. But if you did, then I have a special question for you if you believe in the Big Bang. Because the laws of the laws that we know it are so-called emergent properties of the so-called expansion of the singularity.
You know what? Just forget it.
Yeah. So in other words, the only reason why you're an atheist is because you do not want there to be a God. Because every time you try to tell me that's not the case, and you give me an excuse why you don't have to or don't believe in God, it gets revealed as nonsense. You don't want there to be a God. You do not want to get on your knees and acknowledge
I
Jesus
don't.
Christ as Lord and Savior. You
I
don't.
mean, I mean,
And you hide behind all of these atheist cliches. Now, you have to be honest to admit that the analysis that I bring to the table completely dissects these atheist cliches and shows them for being vacuous. Like when you say, well, I don't know there's a God. Remember how I showed you that that statement is the equivalent of saying all the facts that I'm acquainted with don't necessitate God?
okay, listen. Here's what you should do. You should write a book, because this is a lot of information. And if you really want to share
The book has already been written. It's called the Bible.
I mean,
So you know what it is? So you know what it is? You no longer have a legitimate, intelligent, adult excuse
See, you
why you
scoff, but you
believe.
have no grounds to
Let
scoff
me
at
finish.
anything.
Okay. You have no legitimate adult reason why you believe there's no God. None.
I
So
don't
then,
believe that.
yeah, you do.
What?
Okay.
Oh my
Listen.
God.
Let me ask you a question. Modus ponens.
Do you deny the laws of logic, sir?
Listen, modus ponens is one of the first inference rules. If P, then Q.
Well, Darth, maybe
Okay.
this guy's just a completely irrational person. He
Well,
just denies the laws of logic.
maybe. I'm just pointing out, if P, then Q. Okay. If I can show you that Q is necessarily implied by P, right? Then if somebody asserts P, then they're affirming Q. Do you understand? If P, then Q. If Q is not a necessary entailment of P, okay? If somebody asserts P, then they're also asserting Q. Do you understand?
Yeah.
If P, then Q. Now,
So
let's fill in the values for P and Q, okay? P is the assertion that facts don't necessitate referencing the necessity of God. P equals facts don't necessitate God. Okay? Is that acceptable to you? P equals facts don't necessitate God. That's not convoluted logic. P is facts don't necessitate the necessity of God. Now, we could restate P as the same proposition is facts are independent of God. Same proposition, different wording. Now, if a fact exists without God, then God can't exist. Because God is defined as being the ultimate precondition of facts, both chronologically and in the present. So if a fact, P, is without necessity of God, then God cannot logically coexist. If P, therefore Q. You, unlike other atheists, seem to mean as long as you don't verbally say there is no God, you get a get out of jail free card. Right? But what if you affirm a proposition that necessarily entails the denial of God? Let me ask you this question. If you affirm a proposition, any proposition, and the proposition entails the denial of God, doesn't that commit you to the denial of God then?
well,
if proposition XYZ necessarily entails the non-existence of God, and you affirm proposition XYZ, you have affirmed the non-existence of God,
but
right?
only if it entails it 100%.
Okay. There's none of that. Listen, if it entails it, it entails it. It
either necessarily entails it or doesn't.
Yeah. Either the proposition. Listen,
100.
Listen. What you're trying to do is you're trying to muddy the waters with an introduction of percentages. This is irrelevant. This is a red herring.
If it's not 100, then there's room for doubt. So I need 100.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what you're doing now is you're purposely overdosing on stupid pills so that you don't have to seriously comprehend the line of reasoning.
Darth, come on.
All right, we're done. Okay. Yeah, you're a child. Okay.
He's trolling.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get Tonlock in here to explain it to him.
Have you guys reviewed his interaction with Shannon Q?
Oh yeah, we've done a review of that quite a bit. Yeah.
From May 11th now.
Yeah.
2 days ago. Okay.
Yeah, we have that, Mel. We have that, Mel.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen it just today. I think that was fun.
We actually have a special guest, a mystery guest. We'll just call this mystery guest SQ. What would you like to say to us, mystery guest SQ?
Well,
this is a good like case study though, because Christians, if you actually give any amount of fucks about attempting to convert atheists or teach them about God or whatever it is that you're attempting to do, and you're not just doing this so that you can get your own God points or whatever, or go back to your group of people and talk about how you owned us.
My own bedroom.
Super duper super Christian, because pride, I think, is one of the things you're not supposed to do, right? And that's kind of a prideful thing to do. So you're being prideful by going back to that group and celebrating, and you're not actually doing a good job of figuring out how to convert us by not even talking about the thing we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe engage in better dialectics with us and start talking to us like we're normal people who are worthy of interaction and want to engage with you, who have a brain in our heads, instead of just showing up acting like a trolls and then going back and high-fiving each other pridefully.
Well,
How
apparently
smart you are to be Christians, because don't tell me that this group of people that are all on Discord servers that are going, can you see how stupid these stupid atheists that are stupid are? We're so much smarter than the stupid atheists, stupids. Oh, really? What would Jesus do, you assholes?
Let me just say.
Thank you very much, mystery guest SQ. What do you think of that, Otangelo?
Yeah, I've seen her interaction today with Unlock, and it was remarkable that her justification for not believing in God was that God cannot exist because she never heard a description of God which she thinks is logically possible. And when Tonlock gave the description where there is no contradiction at all, she simply moved on to another subject. She didn't acknowledge what he said.
Hey, Darth, I think
yeah.
something's wrong with that recording, though. It sounded like something was clicking in the background. I don't know if.
I think it was Discord clicking. Yeah, I heard the clicking
like
too. Yeah, the Discord clicking. Okay. Well, she told Dumb Derek from Myth Vision at the 21-minute mark on Does Believing in Gods Make Sense that she was a positive atheist, that there's no God. God can't exist. Okay? But when I talked with her, all of a sudden she overdosed on stupid pills and said she was a temporal agnostic. Right? So did she have a conversion from being a temporal agnostic to being a full-blown hard atheist within 12 months? I would love to hear her rationale why there is no God. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. But wait a minute. We already had that conversation, and she refused to answer. Remember? But that's it's amazing what the recording we just heard of mystery guest SQ and that meltdown, the resemblance between her and Shannon Q. But that mystery guest SQ, I think, was intoxicated. Does anybody have any questions or comments of what we were saying to autism as a curse?
I just got back. All I just want to say is thank you for talking about the speaking in tongues. I've always thought if you want to actually speak in tongues, learn a second language to preach the Bible.
Yeah.
It's like one of my old Russian professors, sort of nominally Catholic, but not very religious. He was at a conference at BYU, and he was able to witness like one of the graduation ceremonies of, or like the final exams for the Russian students, and their final exam is deliver a sermon in Russian. And he said it was the best Russian he had ever heard.
Are you claiming that was a miracle?
No. It just shows that BYU and the Mormons, they take language seriously. That's why BYU historically has been the best foreign language department.
Well, I was very surprised when I found out that most atheists are bilingual, and I didn't believe it. But then Parakeet explained it to me. Many of them, have higher levels of education in the language of mumbo jumbo and gobbledygook. So they know English and gobbledygook.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but one of the most famous apologists now. I think he was trying to learn Russian because he wanted to read Lenin's old work, and he picked up the Bible in Russian and he read the Bible, and he decided to become a Christian.
Yeah, if we abandon our autonomy, then the self-authenticating and attesting nature of the scriptures will come shining through. So, Parakeet, what do you think about that brief analysis that I gave of when somebody says, I don't know there's a God, and I reveal to them that's the equivalent of saying all the facts that I'm acquainted with don't necessitate referencing God?
Yeah, you've said that before, and you just haven't focused on it very much in the past.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good response when they try to pivot over to
I don't know.
saying they don't know rather than answering if they
Yeah,
believe.
okay.
I also wish you'd focus. I remember in the past you used to focus on their will more than asking what they believe. You ask what they're asserting, right? Because when they assert facts, what do they mean by those facts they're asserting?
Well, I used to do that, and I found that their responses were problematic. They were I would get just double talk. That's why I went to, do you positively believe?
Yeah, but you did that in the past, and then you swapped to the what their will is, and now you swapped back again.
Yeah, that's because of the problems with saying that. I say, will you assert right now? Okay.
I think it's more powerful because it focuses
well,
because they seem to think that they can have
yeah.
beliefs but those beliefs are not translated to their assertions of facts.
I want to focus not just on what they're willing, but what they believe. Because then we can show them in terms of what they believe, if P, therefore Q.
Well, what they do also, it entails they believe it. But yeah, I mean, I understand there's different ways to do it.
Does everybody see the pattern of behavior on the part of the atheists, how they're just evasive and slippery and deceptive?
Desperate clingers.
They're
I see simply no reason for atheists today, with all the body of knowledge that we have, especially in regards of science, philosophy, and theology, that they can say we don't know.
Now, Otangelo, you know I like you, right? Right? Are you there?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. You know I respect you and have intelligence, but I have just a little bone to pick with you. I didn't get a chance to watch the video, but I saw that your avatar on a YouTube stream said that God is the best explanation. right?
Yeah, you know what happened? That was purposefully. Why I did that? Because they are picking now on me. Tom Rabbit is picking on me, saying that either I stick to the claim that God is necessary, or I make arguments of probability. I cannot have it both ways. So they are picking on me now in regards of that. Okay.
Don't you agree that the biblical position is God is the only explanation?
Yes, I agree with you, but I think that we can actually look at evidence from different angles and make arguments from different angles. And
Right, but
when
the
I
point
am
is,
in
if let me just interrupt for a second. If you say something is the best explanation, that would just be today, because tomorrow another explanation could come along and replace it. Right?
theoretically, yes.
Well, but you see, the biblical position is not God is the best explanation. God is the only explanation.
Yeah, I see that I am being criticized from all sides right now, and I see the point. I see
But
the point.
I'm doing it in friendship.
No, of course, but the thing is that I am still not convinced that we cannot use the approach which I was traditionally using, which is, let's suppose that I would start together with an unbeliever from an agnostic standpoint. Not that I am an agnostic, but just for sake to have a conversation that both of the interlocutors, me and my opponent, start with a neutral standpoint. Okay? So basically making a thought experiment. It starts from there.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why I think that I agree with you. God is necessary. I cannot fathom how he cannot be.
Did you hear Tom's interaction with me the other night?
No, I saw that there is a stream that you had, I think, an hour-long interaction.
Yeah, have you seen it?
No, I've not seen it.
This will show you what a totally disingenuous phony this guy is. All he's attempting to do is all he's attempting to do is not defend the falsity of God, but just to nullify anything Christians say. Okay?
Yeah, I think he was very hostile towards me in both interactions that he had with me. It is all about beating us and expose us, our views.
It's sophistry. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's sophistry.
Yeah, but do you understand maybe better now why I think that we can start with that approach, starting together with an atheist from a neutral standpoint, and then go from there?
That's not biblical. That's not biblical. There is no neutral starting point. There can't be. There can be common ground that we are creatures made by God, but there's not neutral ground.
I agree with you on that.
If you
I agree with you on that, but I think it is just, I would say, a technique or a way to start a conversation. Even if I am not, if I agree that God is necessary, just for sake to start the conversation, it is, in my understanding, a way to do so. To start, okay, let's suppose both of us that we are agnostics. Now we want to find out the truth.
Then truth can exist without the necessity of God. Then God doesn't exist.
There are no agnostics. If you say, I don't know there is a God, okay, is that the equivalent of saying all facts don't necessitate referencing God? When an agnostic, does an agnostic believe there are no facts? Of course not.
what I am still struggling
I'm asking
with.
you a question. Do agnostic believe there are facts? Yes, they do. They either will believe the facts necessitate referencing the necessity of God, or they will believe facts do not necessitate referencing God. And when they say, I don't know there's a God, that is the equivalent of saying all the facts that I'm acquainted with, that I do know, do not necessitate referencing the necessity of God. Because if they did necessitate referencing the necessity of God, then the person would say, I know there's a God.
But they can also say that they don't know that.
You're not understanding. The statement, I don't know, okay, remember modus ponens, okay? If P, therefore Q.
Okay.
When they say, I don't know there is a God, okay, that entails that they have surveyed facts around them and they have concluded that they don't necessitate, they don't indicate the necessity of God. That's why they don't know that's why they don't know there's a God, because the facts don't necessitate referencing God.
Well, but they can say, I don't know if these facts need to be referenced
No,
to
no,
God
no,
or
no,
not.
no, 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 no. When you say, I don't know there's a God, that is the equivalent that they have surveyed facts and they've decided that facts do not necessitate referencing God. Because if they did decide they necessitate referencing God, they would have to say they know God. So the statement, I don't know there's a God, is the equivalent of saying, or it entails, I should say, that they've decided that all facts do not necessitate God. Okay? And if you say facts don't necessitate referencing God, that entails the logical denial of God.
Yes, but maybe they don't say that. They say, we
Doesn't
don't
matter.
know.
It's a necessary entailment.
Why?
When somebody says, I don't know there's a God, do they know there are facts around them?
Yes, of course.
So all the facts around them do not make them know there's a God. Right?
They can simply say, we don't know if these facts are required to
No.
reference God.
If you don't know there's a God, then the facts do not necessitate God. Because if they did, then you would know God. So
I would repeat again what I said previously.
It doesn't matter. That's not addressing the issue. To say I don't know there's a God is the equivalent of saying I know there are facts that don't necessitate God. Do they know when they say they don't know their God, do they know there are facts?
Well, they know there are facts.
Yeah. So when they say I don't know there's a God, that is the equivalent of saying all the facts I'm acquainted with don't implicate God. Because if they did implicate God, I would know it. All the facts around me don't implicate God. That's why I don't know it. If the facts did implicate or necessitate God, then I would know it. So to say I don't know there's a God is basically to convey all the facts that I do know about, they don't implicate God. But if facts don't implicate God, then God cannot logically coexist.
Yes, as soon as they say, I think that reality or the facts which we see around us do not require an ultimate or necessary creator, then yes, and then I am with you. But if they say, I think I don't have enough information in order to make a sound inference, which then I stick to, then they still can hold the agnostic position.
You're not understanding. You're focusing on what they're claiming. You're not focusing on what the entailments are of what they do affirm.
What they mean, what their will is when they assert a fact. They assert facts. Either when they assert the fact, they mean that they derive from God or not.
Maybe the difference is that I simply stick to what they claim, even if it's true or not. That's maybe another matter. But
okay,
just
go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, their claims are contradictory.
I take
because they
I take what they claim at their face value. It can be contradictory, okay. But
Okay,
I
how
just
about
go with
this?
what they confess.
How about they say, I know facts don't make me know God. I know facts don't make me know God. Is that the equivalent of saying I don't know there's a God?
Again, there is one where they make an affirmative claim where they say,
I'm asking you, is that the equivalent? I don't care what their response will be. Is that the equivalent? If I say I don't know there's a God, that's the same thing as saying I know facts don't make me know God.
no, that's not the same thing.
Of course it is.
Disagree.
I
That's
don't
maybe
know.
why we
Okay, well, why don't? Well, do they know facts?
Yes.
If the facts made them know God, then they couldn't say I don't know God. So when they say they don't know God, it also entails that they know the facts don't make them know God.
Okay.
They know facts, right?
Well, I'm a little bit confused now.
Okay, Otangelo, either facts make them know God or facts don't make them know God.
But they can still say, I don't know if the
you're
facts
focusing
around me.
you're not understanding. You're focusing on their verbal subterfuge. We're ignoring the verbal subterfuge. We're focusing on an analysis of the propositional content.
if they say they don't know where the facts around them come from, then they're saying they don't make them know God.
Okay. Of course, there is a metaphysical, ontological situation. Either it's one or the other. We are on agreement in regards of that. What we are talking about here is their claim of their mental or psychological situation.
Yeah. Well, look, we're focusing on the propositional content, okay? Not their verbal subterfuges. If they say they don't know God, but they know facts, say, I don't know God. Do you know facts? Yes. Then the facts don't make them know God, right?
They want simply to hide behind
Ontangelo, can you do me a favor?
know.
Can you focus on the propositional content rather than their verbal subterfuge, their deception?
Okay, go ahead.
When they say they don't know God, there's also an unstated premise that they know facts. I know facts, but those facts don't make me know God. Okay? When they say I don't know God, does that mean they don't know anything?
They know that there are facts.
Yeah. So when they say they don't know God, that's the equivalent of saying they know facts, but the facts don't make me know God. And if they say the facts don't make me know God, then what they're saying is facts don't necessitate referencing the necessity of God.
Okay, Darth, I think we are at the point where we have to agree to disagree, maybe.
All right, I think what you need to do is you need to read Van Til's book on epistemology, okay? And he has a whole section on it that annihilates agnosticism. Does agnosticism entail that one is not making a declaration about ultimate reality? Answer, yes. To say I don't know that God does or does not exist is the equivalent of saying I make no declaration about ultimate reality. Would you agree?
I think that they are not justified to hold the agnostic
No,
position.
you know what your problem is? You know what your problem is? You hang around too many unbelievers. You need to focus on what I'm saying to you. When somebody says, I don't know that God exists or does not exist, that is the equivalent of saying, I make no final declaration about ultimate reality. Is that the equivalent?
Yep.
Okay.
That's what they claim, that they're not
Right.
making
Good.
any
So
claim
now we're
whatsoever.
making progress. So the agnosticism can be entails, I make no declaration about ultimate reality. But
Yeah,
the
basically,
statement,
he says, I am neutral. I am not
okay,
making any claims.
Otangelo, again, can you focus on the propositions and not their verbal subterfuge? Okay. Okay. Do you know what subterfuge is?
Yeah, there is escape. They try to justify what
It's
is
their
not.
subterfuge is deception. Now, so if somebody says, I make no declaration about ultimate reality, is that statement entail a statement about ultimate reality? The answer is yes, it does. Because what it's saying is facts need not stipulate ultimate reality in order to be facts. Facts need not stipulate ultimate reality. Is that a statement about ultimate reality? The answer is yes, it is. So to say, I make no statement about ultimate reality is in fact to make a self-referential statement about ultimate reality. Do you understand?
I had this conversation very recently. I think it was with Peter Drucker and other people on a
how you know what? Shame
platform.
on you! Shame on you for talking with that pig. The guy is an absolute vile pig. He's an absolute total troll.
Well, there were several people in the room, and it was precisely about this topic.
Well, you know what? I got to take that. I got to take that back. I have to take that back because I too interacted with him recently. So shame on me too.
I say following, Darth, that there are basically two situations here. A child which has no reasoning or no ability yet to reason is agnostic because it cannot make up its mind about God's existence or not. That is a situation.
Do you know that children are notoriously teleological in psychological studies? Notoriously.
I am talking about babies which have no intellectual capability yet. So they are.
That's not a fair inclusion because they don't have the capacity to reason at that level yet.
Right. So they are justifiably agnostics because they cannot reason yet. Right?
No. They're not. They're not agnostic because they don't even have a comprehension of what God means at that neurological state of development.
Yes, they have no knowledge about God's existence.
It's not even justifiable calling it agnostic.
Okay, so what I am saying is, as soon as you are confronted with the God question and you are starting to be informed, you are getting information either from friends, from family, or whatever it is, and immediately you have to analyze that information and make up your mind if you accept, acknowledge, or believe what you are informed with or not. And that's why I think that their claim of being agnostics is unwarranted. It is just an escape to not acknowledging what they really believe.
Do you understand that agnosticism is just a form of closet atheism that is doing a performance, pretending not to deny God while they're denying God?
That's my experience along all these years. All those which say we are agnostics, you move on, and you see that they always want that the no God hypothesis is true.
So stop pretending like agnosticism is a legitimate category.
Yeah, I think it's not. I agree with you on that, and I have said that
then these people are atheists in drag. They're pretending to be something they're not. or they're hiding their real identity as atheists.
Well, they don't even hide it because they actually confess that they don't believe that the God exists. But when it comes to justify their position, rather than going that road down, actually explain why they believe.
I'm talking about people who claim to be agnostic rather than atheist.
I rarely see that. I see mostly people which claim, I don't believe in your God, but when you press them hard to explain what they believe and why, then they say, oh, I don't know why there is something rather than
why
not.
do you continue to say that some of these people are neutral when the Bible says they're not?
I am not saying they are neutral. I am saying what I am saying is that in a conversation with an atheist, even if I hold the position that God is necessary for sake to have a starting point, you can go with them and let's together start from here and then go where the evidence leads to.
Anyway, I got to go to bed. I've had a long day. We don't agree on some things, but it's always fun talking with you, Angela.
What do you think of what's going on in Israel?
What's that?
Yeah,
Before I want to ask you, what do you think? What do you think about what's going on in Israel, between Israel and Gaza?
Well, I haven't been watching the news that closely, but I did read today. I had a very busy day today, but I took a break and was looking at some of the news on my phone, and I saw that they dropped a bomb on the Hamas terrorist intelligence headquarters. And I'm happy about that. Okay. You start firing rockets.
If they accidentally fire a rocket from Gaza and hit
accidentally, yeah.
The Al-Aqsa Mosque, then you can know that this is an event of biblical proportions.
No, these are not accidents.
Because then soon we will have the third temple there, and that will be something which brings us amazingly closer to the end times.
That I agree with you from an eschatological point of view, but I agree with what Israel is doing.
That's not what I was saying. I was saying
I was talking to the other gentleman.
Okay, yeah, but if for some reason actually the Al-Aqsa Mosque is hit and destroyed, then we can know that this is an event of biblical proportions, which will have dramatic shift closer to the end times and end time events. Because then they will build the third temple, and this will be a really new chapter of history and confirm what the Bible is saying.
I mean, we'll have to see. Israel is getting ready. They haven't yet. They're getting ready to do a ground invasion of Gaza. They started their ground forces, I think, right now, but they haven't yet invaded.
Israel has the most amazing intelligence. And you know what? You know what's nice though? Of all of those, Gaza terrorists in the intelligence headquarters that were killed by the bombing of the building, the good news is each one of them gets a 72-year-old virgin.
Hey, Dawkins, do you think the end times is in our lifetime?
Well, when I was 72-year-old virgin, I used, when I was younger and a new believer, especially with the existence of the Soviet Union, I thought that the coming of Christ was more imminent. I still believe that it can be imminent from a historical perspective, but maybe not in my lifetime. I won't be dogmatic as to say in my lifetime, because 40 years have passed. But that's a blink of an eye in terms of human history. I mean, it's not even, to say it's a blink of an eye would be a gross an overstatement.
I remember that when I was a young.
Wrong.
Go ahead, Rap, and then Otangelo.
I said anyone who claims like that Jesus is coming back on this day on this hour is automatically wrong.
Oh yeah, well that's Harold Camping. Go ahead, Otangelo.
I was a young convert in the 80s and early 90s. It was very common, and I believed it as well, that we were the last generation, and there were many prophetic books about this from the 67 7-day war. They said that is starting from there another 40 years, that's the last generation. And of course today we know that's not the case. There were many prophetic books speculating on that scenario.
Well, I'm just amazed at how reserved the Israelis are when they are attacked by the so-called Palestinian. And by the way, there is no land of Palestine. This was just the name was changed by some king to stick it to the exiled Jews, right? They're not Palestinians. They're Jordanians or they're Egyptians on the Gaza Strip.
What they're saying is that the whole thing started with the Arabic side of Jerusalem, where the Jews tried to occupy 30 apartments, which were being occupied by Arabs by the Palestinians. And
that's in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood in Jerusalem. The problem with Israel is it's Turkish land law, Hebrew or Jewish religious law, and American constitutional law all in one.
Guys, I've for the previous conversation you had before you were discussing Palestine and Israel. Some of you said that agnostics are closet atheists.
I did, yeah, I said that.
What is the argument for that?
Because they believe facts don't necessitate referencing the necessity of God, which commits them to the position that God cannot logically coexist.
Are you arguing from the position of withholding knowledge?
No, I said if they do not positively believe that it's necessary to reference the necessity of God, then that logically commits them to the non-existence of God. Do you know what modus ponens is?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more likely to understand that because some precepts are saying basically that a person can withhold knowledge, that kind of concept.
No,
and I was like,
let me explain it to you. If somebody says, I don't know there's a God, what is implied is that they know facts, but they don't know God, right?
Saying they don't know there is a God is an assertion of a fact.
Okay, so
An
they
assertion
say
of a state of affairs.
Okay, so they know facts.
How is it?
Listen.
Excuse me.
And
how is it an assertion?
I'm explaining it to you, okay?
That they have a certain mental state.
Okay. When they say, I don't know there is a God, what they're actually saying is, among all the facts that I do believe and know, those facts that I believe and know do not necessitate referencing the necessity of God. Are we clear so far?
Yes.
Good. Now, that logically commits them to, through modus ponens, if P, therefore Q, that God cannot logically coexist in a world where a fact is independent or does not necessitate referencing the necessity of God. So in spite of the fact that they don't explicitly or even self-consciously say there is no God, what they do say explicitly and consciously affirm is the independence of facts from God. And if you openly admit facts don't necessitate referencing the necessity of God, therefore the independence of facts, then God cannot logically coexist if that proposition is true. So agnosticism is a claim to neutrality, but upon examination, it's not neutral. It's an implicit denial of the existence of God. Do they intend to deny God? No. But they know that they are purposely withholding positive belief in God as creator and the necessary precondition of facts. So they are denying God. They're just doing it in a more sneaky fashion.
Okay, so can one be justified for withholding beliefs?
That's too vague of a question.
Can a person be justified for withholding belief in a God when he has insufficient information
No.
or data about God?
No.
I'm asking this because recently I've heard that.
I said no.
I understand. I'm just heading up a
Someone
conversation.
can be in doubt.
Yeah, I understand.
No. In doubt of what, Otangelo?
In regards
moving
of facts necessitate referencing God or not.
No. That's the superficial representation, but that's not what is entailed. Okay. We're
Well,
not
if they're
talking.
in doubt, then they have decided that facts need not necessarily reference God.
Yeah.
If there can be doubt about it.
Yeah. You have to remember, when we're talking about God, we're not talking about the same category as doubting or not knowing or believing there's gold on Mars. The difference being is that gold on Mars is not the ground of all being. Okay?
Okay,
God
but let's suppose that you have several sets of information, or I can use, for example, as an analogy here, the controversy about the old Earth and young Earth creationism. And you say, after you have checked all the information, I am not sure which proposition is more likely to be true, right? So you are an agnostic in regards. I've held that position for a few years, but when someone asks me, are you a young Earth or an old Earth creationist? I said, I have no position.
You can be an agnostic. You can be agnostic about many propositions. I'm not saying agnosticism toward propositions in general is not viable. What I'm saying is it's not viable toward God.
Look, I asked this question and I started this question because recently we have discovered a tribe on Brazil territory which had no God concept. Piraha people. They didn't even understand when we were discussing God with them. So
I've
they
heard
had
this
no
before. Okay, so when they woke up, let me ask you this question: if I were to sit down to them and talk with them, and I were to say, were you surprised when you woke up that you were in the same place that you went to sleep? What would they say?
I don't even understand the question. Sorry, Darth.
Okay.
I would not be surprised.
Okay, let me ask you this question. When you woke up this morning, were you surprised you were in the same residence that you went to sleep in?
Oh, you mean bed? No.
Okay. You weren't surprised because you had an expectation of continuity, right? Every day you have an expectation of continuity, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Well,
I
was afraid to die in my sleep when I had corona, but yeah, generally.
Okay. So you have an expectation that the world around you has continuity alongside of discontinuity. Now, you and everyone else, whether they're educated or they're bow and arrow people in the Amazonian jungle, must believe that something is instituting and securing the identity over time. Okay, identity over time is referring to the continuity of existence, that some things stay the same while other things change. So everybody, even these tribesmen, believe in identity over time. Okay? That's why they'll refer to fish and trees and bows and arrows and water. Well, it wouldn't make sense if they didn't believe in identity over time or continuity, the continuity of existence.
They'd be surprised every day when they woke.
Right. So the point is, there must be something that is imposing all of this. Okay? Every human being, as long as you're not brain damaged, has got to believe that something is imposing it. Okay? Now, if you choose not to believe that, then you have to believe everything is in flux and there would be no reason to believe in anything. Now, some people choose to believe, as some of the ancient Greeks did, that out of ultimate chaos, or the pagan religions, out of ultimate chaos emerged order. But everybody believes that something is absolute. Because if you didn't, you'd have no expectation of continuity or regularity or identity over time. And you're then going to have to decide whether that absolute is either personal or impersonal. Why? It's because they know that they are personal. They're not like the fish in the water. They're not like the rabbit or the deer that they're hunting. They know that they are entirely different and unique from everything else in existence, that they are an agent. They know that they are a personal being. And that immediately invokes people saying, well, if I'm personal, why everything is here? Maybe that's personal too. But in human history, some people choose, they don't want to acknowledge that. So they turn and they worship creation. So we shouldn't be surprised that we find some people group who are atheists, who are shooting bow and arrows, while other bow and arrow shooters are not atheists. You say to them, God, they're not familiar with the concept of God. They just don't want to believe that the reason why everything is the same is a mind. The same reason why they, yeah.
If I may, the problem is that when we had a conversation with those tribesmen and we actually mentioned that this topic of God, they were baffled about this concept of a God. They did not have this concept of God even in their language, and
maybe it
on
was an
top of
express
that,
well, maybe it was the problem of those who were communicating to them, because sometimes people are poor communicators.
What do you mean?
I could just sit down with these tribesmen, and if I spoke their language or through a translator, say, has it ever crossed your mind that something is keeping things the same while other things change? What are they going to say?
Oh no! Catholic priests have already been sent there to convert them.
No, you're not understanding me.
I know. I understand. I understand. Yes. Actually,
all I would have to
if you're
all I
going
would
to
have
say,
to do is ask them a couple of questions. Do you have an expectations that some things will stay the same? And they would say, of course. That's why they fish. That's why they try to shoot deer. That's why they eat food. Say, do you think this is all a chance world? Or maybe that there is a mind that is imposing this? Just like you're a mind, and you're hunting and eating and creating tents and you're building structures. It's just what you are doing is you are attempting, because you hear the story. Have we actually read what the actual, let me finish. Have we actually read the content of the conversations that were said to them? Or are we hearing these third and fourth and fifth generation accounts of what was said to these people?
yeah, we have the full conversation. If you want, I can link it to you maybe in 5 minutes.
Did you ever have the thought when you were a child, Okay, when you were a little child, did you ever have the thought saying, is everything in the world chaos, or is there a mind governing everything? Because even as a child, children see how human beings have mastery over certain things in our world. So is the world have mastery over it by a mind, or is the world just chaos? Did you know that children?
I never had a chance to ask those
Did you know
questions.
there have been psychological studies done of children? Little children are notoriously teleological when it comes to thing around them. That they think that something is imposing it. Okay. Now, the fact that some people go, oh, I don't know what this God is, maybe it was the way the topic was communicated to them that they go, oh, I don't know what that is. Look, I talk
when we grew up.
Hold on. I've spoken with some professional atheists and non-professional atheists, and I'll bring up the concept of God. They'll go, I don't know what that is. What's that?
Yeah, that's a very intelligible way of having a
I never. Guys, one second, please. I never had actually a chance to ask those questions myself because I was indoctrinated to orthodoxy, Christian orthodoxy, really early in my childhood from my parents.
Okay, so what's your rationale why there's no God?
I'm not saying there is, and
You're an atheist.
This conversation will actually lead us to one place only, Darth.
You're an atheist, aren't you?
I understand, but this conversation will lead us one route.
Yeah. So
you're going to mute me or ban me.
Yeah. No, I won't. I won't ban you as long as you act like an adult. There's no reason.
I did.
So
I did, and
all
you
I want to
muted
know
me
is
3 times and banned me one time from the other server.
Then you were a bad boy.
I'm sorry, Darth. I would like to
so
from
here
day to day or week to week we can have a conversation.
Here we have
but not a
another
debate.
Girl Scout. Here we have another Girl Scout atheist that runs away scared.
Whatever you want to say.
You figured out
floats your boat.
Hey, listen, you have figured out the single most important question of human history, yet you won't tell us how you realize that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've heard it already 1,000
Good.
times over.
Tell everyone the room
It just doesn't get through your head.
There is no God because
I'm not saying there is no God. You already know my position.
Okay, here
because
we go.
you talked to me 4 times.
It never ends, does it, Parakeet?
You talked to me 4 times, Darth.
George,
What is your position?
do you positively believe that God is the necessary precondition of all facts that are not God?
Darth, I'm not willing to go into that conversation with you.
Okay, why not?
Already told you. 3 times muted, once banned from the other server.
Well, then why don't you up your game and act like an adult?
I did.
No, you didn't. You're lying. Because I don't mute people. I don't mute people for acting like an adult.
You either win arguments, Darth, or mute and ban, or you have some other things to do.
That's a lie.
Oh no, you ran away from Xerxes yesterday.
Well, wait a minute. Did you hear what I said on the microphone?
No, yes.
What did I say on the microphone? Yes. First of all, Xerxes is a scumbag troll. Number 2, he's intellectually inept. He just monologues. He does not respond to much of the content that I present. He just monologues. He's not that smart. The only thing that he's good at is the gift of the gab. Number 2, did you hear what I said yesterday when I left?
We disagree on that topic.
I said,
number 1.
Okay, listen to me. This is why you got muted.
I'm answering.
Listen, okay.
I'm answering your question.
Overtalk me again, and I will server mute you.
See, this is what we're talking about.
I asked you, and he runs away. You see, he acts like an a-hole, right? And then he goes, well, you muted me just for debating with you. What a liar. Don't you love these liars? He said, you hear that, folks? He said I ran away from Xerxes. Don't make me laugh. Xerxes is one of the worst debaters. He just has a motor mouth. Okay? I said when I had to go, I was late for a dinner appointment. Okay? I was already on for several hours. Don't you love these people? They lie. I ran away from Xerxes. Don't make me laugh.
Yeah, I heard that recently, that claim that there are tribes which never, which didn't have a concept about God or even a word to describe God. I mean, even if we concede that, but I would say that 99% of the tribes which are encountered and had no contact with the white man, they had some kind of belief in a higher being or in spirits or whatever you want to talk
Yeah, they have a belief. They do have a belief that something is ultimate. It's just that they do not want to acknowledge that it is a mind like themselves. Just
Yeah,
like
like
atheists don't
sun
too.
was some of them had like sun as being their god. So yeah.
I always love it. So because we might have a tribe that we might call them atheists. So I guess that means that the world doesn't reveal God, because there's some atheists on this planet who shoot bow and arrows in the Amazonian jungle.
I mean, when they went to the Aborigines in Australia, they all had their origins stories. And I mean, I think it is very rare to find a tribe which doesn't have some kind of belief in a higher order.
But you have to understand, though,
or whatever.
these reports of these, tribesmen, what was said to them? How was it said to them? How was it communicated to them? What was their response in terms of what was said to them? We always hear these third, fourth, fifth-hand accounts. I would love to see an actual paper if they could show us exactly what was communicated.
Yes, probably this is even distorted. Probably it's not even true that they were atheists or that they didn't have a
Well, no,
God
he's not.
concept.
He's not citing that they didn't believe in God. He's trying to say they had no God concept at all, meaning the thought hadn't even occurred to them that what secures regularity might be a mind, even if they don't believe that.
Yeah,
I think
his
that's
claim.
ridiculous. I think
Yeah,
that's a
that's the
ridiculous claim to say. Even little
I-
children, it just occurs to them. Maybe the reason why everything's the way it is because someone's doing it, right?
You know that little
Even if
children,
they
once they
dismiss it.
listen, little children, once they reach a certain neurological development, have no problem whatsoever believing in God as the ultimate ground of existence. It's only when they start to get older, okay, and in more rare instances, it might start off, when they're 9 or 10, okay. It usually happens later in the teen years, okay. But when children are young, from like 3, 4, 5, 6, unless their parents are atheists, they have no trouble going, oh yeah, there's a mind that's always existed and he created this world and he makes the sunrise. They have no trouble accepting this.
Yeah, because they're little kids.
No, because children are notoriously teleological. It's not because of their gullibility. Do you know what I mean by teleological?
Oh yes, of course. They're like I said. You can. I mean, in your mind, you can see it like that, but in my mind, I see it as them being, children. They have
So
no.
No, you're not. You're not under. You're
Darth,
not
I think what
understanding
he's
it.
saying, Darth, he's saying that children are foolish to think that.
Is that what you're saying?
They're killable.
I'm not saying that they have no concept of this God, this deity.
Are you saying that children are
Are you
foolish to believe that?
Are you an atheist?
You know that I am an atheist.
Okay, good. Tell us why there's no God.
If children are foolish to think
Well,
that,
I
then
mean,
you can defend that, right?
I never seen a proof, nor does it make any
Okay,
sense.
all right. That's an empty.
there is.
That's an empty claim. You're
But-
saying is all. Listen,
Can I
Listen.
finish? Also,
Okay, you just said there's no proof. Okay, listen. You just said there's no proof of. Oh my God! You're an imbecile, just like you were years ago.
So, me as an atheist, don't think that I wouldn't like that actually there is a God. Don't think that I wouldn't wish that there is heaven and hell.
My eyes
There
are
is
glazing over
afterlife,
hearing all these atheist cliches over and over again. Listen
But
to me.
unfortunately, I'm
Okay.
not convinced that
Yeah.
it kind of looks
Darth,
ridiculous.
let him finish his complete autobiography. Wait, just let him finish it.
Yeah. Listen to me. You, in order to say nothing when you say there's no proof or no evidence for God, you would first have to determine that God does not exist in order to say nothing is evidence for God. Do you realize that?
I don't have to prove anything that has no proof in the first place.
Repeat. Okay, listen to me. Repeat back to me what I just said to you.
You go ahead, repeat it.
Did you understand what I said to you?
Yeah, I did.
Good. Repeat it back to me.
Go ahead. You repeat it. You asked.
No, I want you to repeat it to see if you were listening, because I don't think you were listening. For you to say nothing is evidence for God, you would first have to determine that God does not exist. Do you understand?
I understand in your view, but I don't have to do that.
Okay, so you don't accept that that's true.
I don't have to disprove.
Okay, wow.
Something
all right.
that
Wow.
Not
all right, now I understand the problem. Now I understand the problem. Okay, so I'll try to be patient and nice. You're just not getting this.
So you don't have to prove your claim that there's no proof for God. You can assert it baselessly.
Listen to me.
I would ask differently.
Hold on, please. Joy.
Yes.
When you say there's no evidence for God, what you're saying is nothing necessitates saying things stand in causal relations to God. What do all the facts of existence that you're acquainted with, what do they ultimately derive from, since it's not God?
I mean, it's just chance. It's just the universe and
No.
the
Listen
world
to me.
that we live in.
That's not an answer.
But
what? Listen carefully. If all the facts that you were acquainted with, hey Joy, why don't you listen for a second? If you've decided that all the facts that you're acquainted with don't ultimately derive from God, what do all the facts ultimately derive from? And don't say the universe or reality, because all you're just saying is all the facts come from all the facts. That's not an answer.
Darth, he answered that. He said they come from chance. They come from chaos.
Yeah, well, first of all, I did not say that I know where everything comes from.
Okay. All right.
But as far as some
hold on a
things,
second.
yes, we do.
You listen. My patience is running out. I'm tired. You're not focusing. When we talk about God, we're talking about the eternal creator who is the source of all facts and possibility that are not God. Okay? Now, if you say all the facts that you know of don't derive from God, then what do all the facts derive from, since it's not God?
I don't even have a concept of God.
Listen to me. Hey, Joy. Time. Joy, how old are you?
Around 30.
Okay, then you better start having an adult conversation. You've decided that all the facts that you're acquainted with do not necessitate deriving from God. Your position is there's no evidence of God. All the facts do not necessitate deriving from God. Now, what do all the facts ultimately derive from, Joy?
What's meaning facts? What do you mean by facts?
Okay, bye-bye, Joy. Hit the road, turkey. Now, did everybody see that? This is the classic atheist maneuver to deception, because he doesn't want to address the question that will expose the bankruptcy and the vacuousness of what he's saying. What do you mean by facts? What do you mean by evidence, Joy? What do you mean by proof? You see, when they get cornered by their own bankrupt words as to why there's no God, then they play the little definitional game. What is up? What is down? What is chair? Unbelievable. See, when people are committed to deceit and dishonesty, you can't have a conversation about atheism with them because they don't care about being honest. By the way, don't feel bad for that guy. I've had a couple of dozen encounters with him a year or two ago, and he was just as bad then as he is now. I would have exercised a lot more patience and long suffering with him had I not had a history with him, because I know what a deceitful, duplicitous person he is.
Usually when they ask or when they claim, oh, there is no proof or evidence for God's existence, I ask, do you have proofs that the natural physical world is all there is? And then they will say, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just atheist and agnostic double talk. Double talk, double talk, double talk.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
They are atheists towards the God claim, but they're agnostics in regards to an alternative. Because if they have to actually, if you ask them to meet the burden of proof, they immediately see that they have no answers, because atheism or naturalism provides no answer.
Otangelo, have you read Pushing the Antithesis?
Is that the book which you sent me to read?
Yes.
Yeah, I read about 100 first pages.
Yeah, you got to read the whole thing. And you got to read Always Ready and Presuppositional Apologetics Stated and Defended.
I've read Bonson a little bit.
Yeah.
I like it.
And Against All Opposition. That's another Bonson book. You need to read those.
Okay, for me it's late as well.
Yeah. God is not the best explanation. He is the only explanation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Anyway, folks, I got to get to bed. Hey, tomorrow I'm getting my second COVID shot. Anybody gotten the second COVID shot here?
I'm getting my first in 2 weeks.
I still wait for having my first here in Brazil.
Only to convince my mom to get the COVID shot, but she's got into the whole anti-vaccine QAnon.
Oh my gosh, that is so sad. I'm sorry to hear that. I have one of my relatives is like that, and you can't talk with them.
The thing is, it's weird. She was a major league liberal like 3 years ago, but now she's total QAnon 100%. She considers Trump the second coming of Jesus. It's odd.
Does she also believe the QAnon stuff about Tom Hanks and certain celebrities eating babies?
She asked me if Alex Jones is Bill Hicks. She asked me, is it true? She asked me, is it true that there is a video of Clinton and her former aide Huba Abedin eating the face off of a baby, or of a minor girl, and if anyone who's seen the video dies within 7 days.
The problem is you can't deal with people like this because they don't want they enjoy these conspiracy theories. Okay, they enjoy them.
It's just the it's the conservative answer to not my president.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Well, I've heard people
$100
who get the second dose of the COVID don't feel well for 24 hours.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's why I'm getting mine on a Friday afternoon. So if I do feel bad, I can still work on Monday. But I mean, I made $150 off the election because I made a bet at the end of December with someone that Trump wouldn't be president after January the 20th.
Okay, so why did you make that bet?
Easy money. So it's
Well,
like
why did you think he was going to lose?
no, no. So I made the bet with someone at the end of December. They bet me $150 that after January the 20th that Trump would still be president.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm so tired. I misunderstood you. I understand now. Okay. Gotcha.
And then after, so they paid me the money, so they were honest that way. And then they bet me another $50 that by March the 31st that Trump would come back into the office.
Well, have
So
you heard the latest that they're doing it in America? I think it's Maricopa County. I think it's in Arizona that they deleted the electronic records on the election machines. If you go to the Gateway Pundit, I mean, people only do stuff like that when they're trying to hide something. Yeah, they don't want the votes to be recounted so that the election fraud won't be exposed.
yeah, but the issue there is like I got that they're doing the audit, but then again, it's like, all right, so you have an audit, so what's next? I mean, like I asked my same family member who's quote.
No, you're not understanding, because if that unravels and a couple of more states unravels, then they can have a case that they can go to the Supreme Court with, and the court could order the reinstatement of Trump as president.
And I doubt it.
Well, it may be unlikely, but the point is, why are they opposing what is constitutionally permissible, that we investigate whether the voting actually had voting integrity? Why are they opposing this?
Their guy's already in office.
So why are they opposing it?
Please let me live in that world where Trump gets put back in office forcibly by the Supreme Court. That would be so insane.
Yeah, like I told my family member, I'm like, yeah. So
Well, did you ever think you'd see in your lifetime where one political party would steal the election by another person who won in a landslide?
I did not.
Yeah. I mean, it took me by surprise too. Listen, I am not a conspiratorial theorist, but I believe in a distinct possibility that the Chinese Communist Intelligence Agency actually did the planning for this and then gave the planning to the Democratic Party, and then they carried it out. Because I don't think the Democratic Party is smart enough to pull this off. Okay? I mean, excuse me, not pull it off, to do the planning behind it. But I'm not saying it's necessarily true, but I think it's certainly plausible.
Does that not instill a certain amount of fear in you, though, that like the RNC is like incompetent enough to let them get away with it?
No. You have to understand that we've never seen voter fraud at this deep and wide a scale. Okay? If the voter fraud is true, then it is truly deep and wide in a number of these swing states. Anyway, I got to get to bed, folks. See you tomorrow.